The government of Zimbabwe remains dedicated to the growth of the food and nutrition cluster here in Zimbabwe as we pave way towards achieving Vision 2030. We are talking of becoming an upper middle class economy, and food security becomes pertinent. Now the goal is to maintain quantity and quality throughout the various stages of production to ensure that everyone has enough. With the shifting eating habits, we are now talking more of the healthy eating habits, which is why today's episode is going to be anchored on tomato production. We are talking of the availability of vitamin C to each and every member of our country to ensure healthy and growth of our children as we pave way towards achieving Vision 2030 as a country. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, and I am Wadzanai Manyore. So this is a platform which is specifically created for our farming community here in Zimbabwe. This is where we converge and share ideas in terms of production, financial management, business finance, time value of money, production economics, to mention but a few. Today we are here in Beatrice at a farm being owned by Mr. Ndowe. He is a youthful farmer who is into tomato production. As you can see, he has established 3 hectares of tomatoes and is going on to produce even more, where he is looking at producing well over 7 hectares of tomatoes this season. Thank you, Fine, for joining us today and welcoming us to your farm. I can see you've established a beautiful crop, a beautiful tomato crop, which is healthy and which is weed-free. Can you maybe take us through your journey, the basics of tomato production? If a farmer wants to venture into tomato production, what are those key fundamentals that he has to look out for?
Right. If you want to grow tomatoes, the first thing to look is to the seed. Like this one, it's a Newton. So if you want to grow tomatoes, you're supposed to look at the seed, type of seed what you want to grow. Like right now, you grow this Newton. It's a good variety for us when we are going into the rain season.
Okay.
Yes.
So Fine, I understand that you established this beautiful crop and it's healthy, it looks disease-free, and even the weeds are quite manageable here. Can you maybe take for the sake of our audience there at home, our farming community, what are the basics of tomato production, the key fundamentals that a farmer needs to take cognizance of before he ventures into this kind of a project?
Thank you, Wadzanai. The first thing, if you want to grow this tomato, you're supposed to check the land first.
Okay.
Yes. Right after the land, you check the source of water what you are going to use. Like here, we take water from Pure River. It's a big dam. Then I use this electric pump to pump water from the dam into the farm.
Okay.
Right. For the second thing, you're supposed to make a land preparation. When you make your land preparation, you're supposed to use a tractor to plow the land.
Okay.
After that, you can disc your land. After disc your land, you peg your lines. Like here, you peg about 1.5 meter from another lane to another lane.
From another ridge to another ridge?
Yes, from another ridge to another ridge.
Okay.
Yes.
When it comes to spacing, how far in row and inter-row and in-row are your crops?
In the row should be 1.5 meter.
Okay. Yes. And in row?
In row it's 35 to 40 centimeters.
Okay.
Yes.
So when it comes to the soil type, Fine, that supports proper tomato growth, which type of soils are you looking at?
Right. We look at black soils, red soils. That's the soil what we are going to use to grow tomatoes.
In terms of profitability, how has been this venture for you?
Approximately on 1 hectare, we're supposed to range 16,000 up to 20,000 per hectare.
16,000
US dollar.
US dollars?
Yes.
Okay. Then your crop in terms of population, your plant population per hectare, how many crops of tomatoes do you have?
We have 20,000 plants per hectare.
Okay, and how many the yield per tomato in terms of kilograms or units of tomatoes one plant can support? How many?
One plant support about 15 to 20 kgs.
Okay.
Yes.
That is very lucrative. When it comes to choosing your irrigation systems, I understand that you spoke of understanding your water source, and you said you are getting your water from Mufure River. When it comes to choosing your irrigation system, what drove you to choosing drip irrigation instead of overhead? We have overhead sprinklers. Some use even pivots. What drove you to using the drip irrigation?
Ndakachoose this drip irrigation. Was drip irrigation inoderedza zvakanaka kana tauya pakuderedza matomatoes haadi overhead.
Okay.
Pakuderedza because wakashandisa overhead madisease anowanda.
Okay.
Yes.
So I can see kuti weed management yenyu, it looks very clean. It's almost clean. You can see weeds here and there, but your crop looks healthy. What have you been doing to ensure that your crop is weed free?
Right, tinoshandisa at first patinoapla first fertilizer yedu ndo patinoita first weeding yedu.
Okay.
Tichibvisa masora madiki anenge achibuda. So I supposed to manage kuti matomatoes edu musaite sora. Nenyaya yekuti tichingoti richibuda tinofana kubva taita weeding. Then domasi redu rati kure like this stage. Tinenge takushandisa yatinoti metrobuzin.
Okay.
I herbicide inoshandiswa ma potatoes. So potato ne tomato it's the same thing. Saka takashandisa iyo inoselecta matomatoes yedu ichiuraya sora.
Okay, my advantages a drip irrigation in the api amungataurawo kuti ukashandisa drip. I understand you spoke of the overhead being most unlikely to tomatoes given that diseases will become rampant and they'll spread quickly. When it comes to using drip irrigation, my advantages a drip in the api amungakurudzirawo kuvarimi vari kunze.
Right, my advantages a drip, advantage yekutanga drip ariomese pasi ivhu redu rinoramba riri loose.
Okay.
Yeti tomato redu rinofana kuspreada midzi yaro nekukasira, saka rinenge richida panhu pari loose.
Okay.
Yeah, wakashandisa that overhead ivhu redu rinotsindirwa then robva raoma, then tomato redu haichakwanise kumhanyisa midzi nekukasira. Even in terms of sora, drip redu rinoita sora parinenge richidiridza chete, then pakati hapachaite sora. Saka kumanage pakusakura kwedu kune kuri easy because tine tichiteera pane pakagara drip redu.
Chirongwa pachiri kubuda kune vari kutoyeva kuti ane 3 hectares ari kuita 7 hectares ari kusvambisa sei. Vamwe vangangova neshuwo rekuda kupinda mukurima madomasi, asi imimi semurimi mutori nematambudziko amunosangana nawo. Saka zvamungada kutaurirawo kuvateereri before vapinda mukurimwa kwematomatoes ndezvipi, uye matambudziko anofanira kuchenjerera ndaapi?
Unofana kutarisa pari kubva mvura yedu, ndo paunotarisa. Wotarisa land yako kuti yakamira zvakadii. Kana usinganzwisisi unokwanisa kutora soil for samples.
Okay.
Right, wonotestesa soil rako, wowana munhu anokuudza nezve soil rako kuti rakamira sei, rinoda fertilizer yakaita sei, rinozoda chii chakanyanya kuwanda.
Okay.
Yes. Kuzochichoisa tongoti uchienda kunochoisa maseeds, unofana kunzwisisa kuunderstanda kuti seed yandingakwanise kugrowa according necapital yandinayo, because pano mamwe mahybrid then koita mashort season zvinongosiyana siyana. Saka iwewe kuti ugone kumanage according nehomwe yako kuti yakamira sei, unofana kuziva kuti type yetomato randa unorima rinotora chikafu chakawanda zvakadii.
Alright. Imimi mukupendera chirongwa, seed yenyu makatora iri seed remukapacket kana makatotora iri nesi inenge yatodyarwawo nemumwe munhu aikudza?
Right, seed takatorawo yatokudzwa nevamwe vanhu kumagreenhouse, tondonotengawo yatova ready kudyara.
Alright.
Then tochidyara.
Pakudyara apa kune vatariri, kuvarimi varoda kupinda mazviri, how soon can someone say ndatotora seed yangu ndabva nayo kutown? Inomborara here kana kuti munozodyara mangwana here kana mutoti muchitongobva nayo kutown matongosvika muchitongodyara?
Right, chakanaka ndechekuti seed ichingobva kunesari inofana kusvika nokudyarwa. So land yako inofana kuva ready usati wanotora seed yako yakuda kudyara. Then paunotora seed unosvika ichitonosvika nokunodyara wakawanda.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ndowe. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you, Wadzanai.
There you had it, viewers. This was Mr. Ndowe. He was taking us through his venture, his tomato production venture, where he is saying that this is a 3-hectare a plot, and he's also adding on 4 hectares where you can see people working. Now, viewers, we're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. you so much, viewers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. I am Wadzanai Manyore. Today we are here in Beatrice, where we are joined by a youthful farmer who's into tomato production. As you can see, he's established this 3-hectare crop, and on top of that, today he's planting another 4 hectares of tomatoes. Now, viewers, we encourage you to be a part of these conversations. I understand you are taking notes from home. Feel free to get in touch with me, the producer Wadzanai Manyore, on 0772 807 506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also available on Twitter, where we have conversations. It's at Agribusiness110. Leave your comments and suggestions and make a follow-up on this episode and more on our YouTube channel, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. At this point in time, we have taken the liberty of inviting an expert in horticultural production. His name is Kudakwashe Mugwagwa. He works with Syngenta. We are going to cross over to him. Kudakwashe, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Wadzanai.
Yes, I would like us to talk about the pests and diseases which are a nuisance when it comes to tomato production. Yes.
Thank you, Wadzanai. I'm so happy today that I'm on the Agribusiness show with you, and I'm happy to be sharing with farmers that when you are growing your toms, that's how some people
yes,
are able to call it toms. When you're growing your crop for tomato, you should look out for pest and disease, especially if you are in summertime. There is disease pressure due to the variations in the temperatures. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. And on top of that, there's also rainfall which comes in. So when that happens, there's going to be disease pressure and pest pressure. I think key pest to look out for is the tuta absoluta.
Okay.
So many farmers, they really look out for this one. And I'm seeing there's integration of pest management whereby our farmers are using yellow stickers. Some are using traps to make sure that they control the tuta absoluta in their crops. But however, some farmers have gone a step ahead where they're using systematic pesticides, which help them to control tuta. So on top of that, if you look at disease-wise, in summer or in the rainy season, there are many blights. There's early blight, there's late blight, and there are so many solutions out there, including fungicides, which can help our farmers to reduce the disease pressure.
Okay. Yes, KD, as you can see in this field, Fine opted to trellis his tomatoes. These are trellised tomatoes. But at the same time, there are those farmers out there who do not trellis their tomatoes. Can you maybe tell us the advantages versus the disadvantages of trellising your tomatoes, your toms?
Thank you so much, Wadzanai. I would like to advise our farmers that, like what you had said before on the soil structure, you have to understand your soil type. Some soils are well drained.
Okay.
Some are not really well drained. So I would say to our farmers, in the rainy season or in the summer season, it is important for you to put your tomatoes on ridges. When you put your tomatoes on ridges, some of them are what we call determinate varieties. These varieties, they do not require trellis which goes above 1 meter. But some are indeterminate varieties which can grow all the way up to 2 meters. So a farmer should know their variety. They should understand their soil type. When that has happened, it is important for farmers to understand that trellising can also increase your yield. What you are doing, you are ensuring that your plants are not sitting directly on the soil, because there are also those soil-borne diseases which can affect our yield. Trellising also helps with your spraying regime, because when your crop is upright, you can easily spray it on both sides to ensure that you are also be able to controlling your pest and disease.
Okay.
Also, for our farmers, they also need to understand that the issue of trellising is also a function of cost.
Okay.
Those varieties which are not trellis, they also reduce your cost per hectare in terms of the productivity. But if you're going to trellis your crop, you also need to understand that you need to have the resources which enables you to trellis the crop.
Okay. Okay. As we round off this segment, KD, from a general agronomist perspective, I can see that it's a very beautiful crop. It's well established. If you look at the germination percentage, the plant population is on point. Out of a 10, what would you give Finest? And what are some of the things that you'd like to emphasize to our farmers at home that Finest did right? Because obviously it's a very healthy crop. It's looking good, lush green, well fertilized, and weeds, he has been managing them. Out of a 10, what would you give them? And what are those that you'd like to emphasize for our audience there at home?
Thank you, Wadzanai. I think I'd like to congratulate Mr. Ndoe for a good job.
Okay.
Because I'm sure if you see this crop, out of a 10, I would say it's a 9 out of a 10. If you see the crop, it's very clean, which means he's doing everything he can do in terms of disease control and pest management.
Okay.
On top of that, I'm liking the lush green on the crop and the stem thickness, which shows that his fertigation program is also on point. On top of that, I would like also to thank him for the good crop management and the handling, where you can see that the trellising is up to date, because we always tell our farmers that when you're growing a tomato crop, it is important to start your trellising at around 3 weeks.
Okay.
And to add on top of that, I think the fact that he used seedlings, it also reduces the time lapse in regards to production.
Okay.
Seedlings, you are assured of the numbers which are within your hectare.
Okay.
Like what he said, that is got 20,000 plants, and for sure it will be 20,000 plants because every seedling counts. I also would like to take this opportunity to encourage our farmers when transplanting their tomatoes. If you see a weakly seedling or a sickly seedling,
okay,
please take it out, because that is your money.
Okay.
For example, this variety can yield up to 15 kgs. So if you do the math, if you've got 10 plants which are not healthy, you have lost already 150 kgs.
Yes.
So that is also a good thing. I would like to congratulate Mr. Ndowe on the job well done.
Okay, thank you so much, KD. Viewers, there you heard it. They are saying that one plant can yield to about 15 kgs. And Mr. Ndowe here is saying that he has 20,000 plants per hectare. Now you can do your math. Indeed, tomato production is very profitable. On that note, viewers, we're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the third and final segment. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers. We are in the third and final segment of your program. We are talking of tomato production as we ensure healthy eating habits for everyone here in Zimbabwe. We are talking of the availability of vitamin C to each and every citizen of Zimbabwe, and it comes from proper production of crops such as tomatoes. Now we are in the third segment, KD. I'd like us to talk about transplanting. We are talking of a farmer probably who has bought their seedlings from Harare and has come back with them to Beatrice. What are the key fundamentals when it comes to transplanting? If you look at tobacco, they transplant from the seedbed and it comes to the field, but then they go through hardening. What is the process like in tomato production?
Thank you, Wadzanai. I'd like to emphasize to our farmers that, like what you said, when you're planting tobacco, I'm sure you ensure that when you water your seedling after transplanting,
yes,
there is field capacity, whereby there is water which can sustain the plant at least for 3 to 5 days.
Exactly.
I'd like to say that is a very key thing that farmers should also practice when they are growing their crop of tomato. What they should do is that they should make their planting station probably around 15 to 20 centimeters in terms of width. When they've done that, they should plant their seedlings at the upper part of that planting hole.
Okay.
And then when they do that, they apply 30 grams of compound C fertilizer within that same hole, but at least 5 centimeters away from the seedling to reduce fertilizer burn. When that has happened, they should come in with water which can amount up to 15 liters per hole, 10 to 15 liters, to ensure that survival of the seedling can be sustained so that the crop from the beginning, it is set to go. When that happens, you are assured to get a very good crop and better yields. Okay,
in terms of top dressing, you spoke of basil dressing. In terms of top dressing, how are the quantities, what are they per plant, per station, and also how do you apply your top dressing, and even the factors to look out for when applying your top dressing?
Fertilizer application is very important for our farmers. What I want to emphasize is that farmers need to understand timing of your fertilizer.
Okay.
Timing is very important in the sense that when your crop is at around 2 to 3 weeks, even all the way up to 6 weeks, it already decide whether in this field you've got enough food or feed to ensure that you've got a healthy crop. So what I want to emphasize is that our farmers should time their fertilizer from 2 weeks after transplanting. They should apply AN to ensure that there's vegetative growth and also our plant is able to take off. But what I would want to say is that when you go on into week number 4, week number 6, week number 8, you must interchange your top dressing in regards to your calcium nitrate to ensure that you've got a very strong, firm fruit which helps with your shelf life. To add on top of that, our farmers can also apply SOP. Some farmers also would like to apply foliar fertilizers.
Okay.
These ones will help to ensure that you've got a healthy crop, healthy flowering stage, and also the fruit itself, it can also be fertigated in regards to foliar fats to ensure that there is no problems like the blossom end rot, because when your tomato has got its calcium, has got its balanced diet in terms of nutrients, you are assured of a good yield.
Okay, now KD, as we look at this crop, it is some of it has already bore some fruits, but at the same time we can see some flowers. What are the critical factors to look out for at this stage? Most of our Zimbabwean farmers, if you go around their fields, most of their crops are at this stage, and they want to understand the key fundamentals to look out for at this stage, whereby we have fruit, but at the same time there are still some flowers.
That is a very good question, Wadzanai. I think at this stage, our farmers, they need to be able to walk into their crop.
Okay.
When they walk into their crop, they study the habit of the plant. At this stage, you need to check if your plant is not aborting the flowers.
Okay.
That's when you see your flowers, they will turn to a brownish color. And when that happens, it means you are losing the yield. And also, due to the heat which is available nowadays, when you walk your field, you're able to tell whether you need to adjust your watering regime. When that happens, you are also able to understand how much water you need to add into your tomato crop. What I want to tip our farmers today is the fact that they should just understand that when this crop is during its fruiting stage, all that fruit you are seeing, that is water in there.
Okay.
So when a farmer understands that all my fruits, they also need water, you can be able to adjust your watering regime, understanding that, for example, my plant has got 10 fruits, and one fruit is around 50 grams. So if you do the math, you actually be able to calculate how much water your plant needs at this stage.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much, KD. Finally, as we round off and close our episode, the handling process. Post-harvest maintenance is very critical. And most of our farmers, even though they practice everything that you've just said, proper timing, proper fertilizer regimen, adjusting their water application systems, you would find that they will lose it when it comes to harvesting. Most of their crop rots at that point and never makes it to the market. The tomato never makes it to Spar on Bon Marché or Pick and Pay. What should a farmer look out for, or the importance of proper handling mechanisms?
Thank you, Wadzanai. Our farmers, in terms of the post-harvest management, I encourage them to time their harvest.
Okay.
That is, they should sync with their supplier how much is required at what stage. And also, when they are going to pick their fruits, I would encourage our farmers to do it early in the morning.
Okay.
That also does not stress the plant, and it also ensures that the fruit is fresh. But to add on top of that, I would like to say that when farmers are ready to pick their fruits, they should ensure that they've got their nice baskets which can fit their fruit, which also reduces a problem we see in most farms where people, they pick their fruit and then it's on the ground.
Oh,
we also need to consider hygiene to the end user, because our customers would also want to eat it fresh and not sun-scorched. So it is very important that when they pick the fruit, it should go into the basket and also be able to do a cold chain.
Okay.
A cold chain implies that from the time that you are able to pick the fruit from the field, it also arrives to the supermarket whilst it is still fresh. Some would use refrigerated trucks to ensure that it's always freshness all the way. Also, to add on the post-harvest management, I would encourage our farmers to pick their tomatoes whilst they've got that champagne color. What it helps with is the fact that shelf life is lengthened from anything from 10 days up to 15 days. There are some varieties which can even go all the way to 20 days.
Okay.
When that happens, it also gives a farmer an opportunity to harvest, and sometimes you'd want to do a spray regime. But I would also want to add on top of that to say our farmers should use approved chemicals with a short post-harvest index. This implies that, for example, you harvest today, after 3 days, that chemical will not be still in the plant or in the fruit.
Okay. Thank you so much, KD, for joining us today.
Thank you, Wadzanai.
There you heard it, viewers. This is KD from Syngenta. He was telling us that it is important that you harvest your fruits early in the morning and to ensure that it has a short post-harvest index. On that note, viewers, we have come to the end of this week's edition. From me, Wadzanai Manyore. I'm also on Instagram. It's a W Manyore. And Mukoma Daniel Muranganwa. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.